Puja, you teach the English language. For any practitioner, any teacher, they have to love what they do. So, what is it about the English language that you love?
I love the fact that obviously I'm a native speaker of English, but teaching it is a whole lot different. I'm teaching it as a foreign language. So it's almost like I'm learning another language in a way, because if I learn Spanish, if I learn French, I'm learning the rules, I'm learning the grammar, I'm learning why we have articles and why we use particular tenses and phrasal verbs. So I think that really fascinates me. And when I was training, it was almost like I was like studying English, because obviously when I was a child, we didn't learn all of this. So I think when I'm teaching it, I'm sometimes amazed at why certain things are a particular way. Why do we have so many phrasal verbs? And some of them like just don't make any sense. Yeah, and also certain words which just don't sound logical. You know, when you say words like chemistry, you would think that it makes that ch sound, but we have to tell the students that this is how it sounds, this is the spelling.
Now, I'm having a little mini meltdown here because here I am, 53 years old, and I have never encountered that phrase before. What on earth is um, a phrasal verb? Can you give me some examples? Because I am clueless.
Yes, a phrasal verb is basically a main verb plus a preposition, or you can have an adverb with it. So burst into tears, take away, phrasal verbs like that, go out.
And so let's pick up on that go out, because of course with COVID, we can't go out. But this doesn't impact your work because this is online remote learning. So regardless of the pandemic that's going on out there, you teach using the tools of your trade, which is your intelligence and your laptop. So where would your students, which parts of the world would your students come from?
Well, they can come from anywhere in the world. That's the beauty of online teaching. You know, I'm sitting in the UK, but they could be sitting in Chile, in France, in Spain, in Thailand. It's really quite amazing to think that you are geographically apart such a great distance. However, technology just has a way of connecting you. So, you know, I'm really interested in teaching students from different ethnic cultures, because I think, you know, I can also learn a lot from their culture, their background, what their country's like.
I'm wondering what the common denominator is. So they come to you because they want to learn. So are you finding that it doesn't matter which part of the world they come from, they want to learn for a particular reason? So what reasons do they come to you to learn to speak proper English like?
So there are lots of different reasons. Many students come because they need it for their job. They have to attend meetings in English, conferences, make phone calls. Maybe they need to also give presentations in English. And then other reasons are that students want to come abroad and to do a postgraduate. Obviously, here you need a certain level of English, so they need to do IELTS as well, which is getting the right level of English for their course. So that's a really big factor. Another factor is that they're just genuinely interested in the language, and they would like to learn because it's a universal language. They want to travel, and they want to keep their brain active. Yeah, so these are the main reasons. And also for young learners, they want to improve their knowledge and their skills when they're still at school, to obviously get a better grade. And this ultimately will help them in the long run.
So I'm guessing that you teach all ages, all abilities. So therefore, you don't have a template approach, i.e., one less series of lessons fits all. So it sounds to me as though you create bespoke, customized lessons for each for every individual and for each group, because I understand that you wouldn't mind teaching 3 or 4 if they're all joining in on the Zoom call, for example.
Yes, that's right. So basically, first of all, I have an informal chat with them to find out why they want to learn English, improve English. And then I ask them a series of questions to find out some information. For example, whether they've studied English before, what aspects do they find difficult, easy, what are their strengths and weaknesses, and ultimately, what are their goals for learning English. And then after we've had this chat, I would basically then give them an assessment to test their grammar, vocabulary, skills, and we'll do a bit of speaking and maybe some reading. So, I really listen to the students' needs and I go away and plan. And once I've marked the assessment and gone through it with the student, then it highlights areas where we need to work on. And that's how I plan my lesson. And I also ask the student what topics they would like to do. Is there anything in particular? So it's very much individualized.
But here we are, we're speaking in April 2021, we're coming out of lockdown, but you haven't always taught remotely. I understand that you have traveled internationally to teach and convey the beauties and the joys of the English language.
Yes, that's right. I was very fortunate. In 2010, I worked in India for an NGO. So my role was to teach English to the kids in the slum areas of Delhi. The children were aged between as young as 4 up until about 15. That was an absolutely amazing experience. The school being in the slum areas of Delhi, there was very little facilities. I made a lot of stuff which I took out to India, a lot of teaching materials, teaching not just the students but the teachers the Western way of teaching. So, giving ownership to the students. I did a lot of role play activities based on literacy texts like The Hungry Caterpillar, We're Going on a Bear Hunt, some of my favorite stories, kids' stories, and it was just so rewarding. I did a lot of speaking with the students, getting them to come out to the board, a lot of group activities and sentence construction and reading activities. So that was great. And then in 2013, I went to Chile in South America. And, it was always a dream to be in that part of the world. So I lived there for about 16 months and I worked for a university in Santiago, which is the capital of Chile. And I did some IELTS coaching, which was great because I hadn't done IELTS before. So I was kind of thrown in the deep end, big learning curve for me. And then I was also teaching at a TV station called Canal 13, which is Channel 13 in English. And I was teaching the employees English. And it was absolutely amazing experience. I was teaching from elementary up into advanced. And I had a lot of fun with my students. They knew that I spoke some Spanish. So when they didn't understand things, they would ask me to say it in Spanish, and I refused. And I was like, when we're in the classroom, we speak English. So they enjoyed it. I did, very much tactile activities, getting them up, playing some language games, getting them to work together, using music as a way of teaching certain aspects of English grammar. all in all, it was a brilliant experience.
So it sounds joyful, but it also sounds as though you were, well, in fact, you obviously were empowering your students. But what do you learn from your students? What do they do for you? Because of course, there is a synergy, an osmosis, and a reciprocity between teacher and pupil.
I think the students just appreciating how much effort I put in to the lessons and getting that feedback from them, being honest about how they're finding the activities, responding, I would hope, in a positive way, and having that mutual respect between student and teacher, I think is very important. So I get a lot of satisfaction from just actually seeing the students progress and them enjoying. Fundamentally, the important thing is that they enjoy the lessons and that they are learning. So that's where my job comes in. And of course, I always ask them to give their 100% to the lessons. So as long as they do that, then yeah, that's the important thing.
So realistically, how many lessons does a student need? Obviously, there's a taster session where they get to meet you, but that's just the tip of the iceberg. So what would your recommendation be to go from a basic grasp of the English language to a superior grasp?
Oh, that's a hard one, to be honest. Yeah, I mean, if they have just at the start very basic, I would say that they need, if they want to get to, say, advanced level or even proficiency level, they would need to study it maybe for 6 months, the language, at least 6 months. But it also depends on how their learning capabilities are. They might struggle, they might find it easy. So it's quite hard, and also how much self-studying do they do when they're not having a class, and how often are they having classes in English? Yeah, it's quite hard to say exactly, but I would say probably 6 months.
So how flexible are you? We all work within a 24-hour day. However, there are different time zones. So when you're conducting your lessons with those in Chile, would you be up for getting up in the middle of the night to teach them? Are there any times of the day which are off limits?
I don't like to really work at the weekends if I can help it, but say if a student is in Hong Kong and if the weekend is the only time that it suits them, then I would have to. I would hope that it's not going to be in the middle of the night UK time. That hasn't happened yet, thankfully. So I guess we just work out a suitable time for both of us and go from there. Like I said, I haven't had any issues so far.
Is that what you say to your students about taking things in baby steps so that they don't get exasperated if they don't get phrasal verbs automatically?
Yes, exactly. A lot of students come to me and say, how can I improve my English skills in like a couple of weeks? So when can I go up to the next level? And I say, it's not just an overnight thing. It takes time, and it's baby steps, it's gradual steps for the changes to happen. Again, because I know what it's like. When I was at school, I did find certain things difficult. So I think the best teachers I had were always just work on this, and don't worry about all the other things. Focus on just one bit at a time and then work on the next bit. That's why we review goals quite frequently to see what still the student needs to work on, what they've achieved. It's like that.